This is, of course, the classic warning sign for you're about to get completely, pilfered of all of your wealth because of the gullibility of those who are greedy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser giving us an update on Bitcoin, the stock market, and how the printing of money is affecting every market around the globe. Keiser has been warning people that fiat currencies would collapse and why Bitcoin is a significantly better store of value. The pricing on Wall Street continues to erode trust with investors, and we're starting to see the negative effects of that now. Max believes banks are attempting to achieve interest rate neutrality without completely destroying the world economy. He suggests keeping all of your Bitcoin since they hold value and can't be destroyed by money printers in the future. Let's check out the latest interview with Max Keiser as he gives his prediction on the market collapse and how this will affect Bitcoin in the next few months. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
The disaster is coming from within. The problems in the U.S. are not from external attacks. They're from the inside. What I've learned on Wall Street in my many years is that the markets tend to reflect more of the reality of the situation. And if you look at the emerging market index for debt from all the countries around the world, the single greatest performer in 2023 is El Salvador. So again, it's one of these situations that I always hate to see. The average Joe on the street who watches mainstream media wouldn't consider something like El Salvador debt because they're being told it's a disaster. But the professionals on Wall Street who don't listen to mainstream media know that this is probably an excellent opportunity to make some money. And that's another way that the insiders typically can aggregate an excess quantity, and there's a huge concentration of wealth through the propagandization, through their controlled media outlets in a way that make the average person really unaware of the market realities.
Well, a few months ago, maybe 8 or 9 months ago, last summer maybe, we had dinner with a guy who runs a hedge fund and manages a lot of sovereign wealth. He's somebody that people would know. His name, his family name is, he's very famous. But he manages like some massive sovereign wealth funds, parts of. There's no one manager of these sovereign wealth funds. There's they give a lot of money to various private equity and hedge funds and stuff like that. So he manages some of the most famous of the sovereign wealth funds. And his specialty is emerging market debt. That's what he specializes in, debt of emerging markets. And so he has traveled all around the world to many parts of Africa, Latin America, to, go do the due diligence and look and see what the situation is. I've never seen anything like this, ever. He said, like all the countries I've been to, he had never seen such a gap between the headlines and the reality on the ground. Just even from the point of just arriving at the airport and driving into San Salvador.
Yeah, I think the comment was made, it was like finding a Fabergé egg at a garage sale.
Yes.
In amongst, the tchotchkes for $5, here's a Fabergé egg called El Salvador, which is worth gazillions of dollars. And at that time, I remember the conversation, and I remember kind of looking at the markets, and I believe the debt was around 40 cents on the dollar. I checked recently, it's more like 80 cents on the dollar. So I
think it was even less than that. Remember, it was something like 28 or 29 cents. It was like really low.
So it's almost a triple from that conversation.
Yeah.
And of course, he's an emerging debt specialist, and this is why you become an emerging debt specialist, because the market tends to misprice things where the cost of due diligence is very high, because you have to actually go to these countries and you have to get on the ground, and due diligence is really almost absent from all kind of research today in these markets. And we saw that in the FDX scandal. Every single participant in the FDX scandal never did a lick of due diligence. They simply, except for Taylor Swift.
She was offered $100 million by FTX. And even somebody worth $10 billion, $100 million is hard to say no to. All you have to do is send some tweets and do a video or two. And she said no. And the reason why she said no is, well, she asked a simple question. And she said, are all of these things you list on here, they seem like unregistered securities. And none of those guys on CNBC who are pushing FTX, none of them, Scaramucci, Novogratz, Kevin O'Leary, none of them asked that question.
There was no due diligence. The people like the Novogratz and the Scaramucci's and others who are in the business, who should know better, who have licenses, that proving that they've done some of their own accreditation and that they have knowledge of how these markets work, never asked even the simplest of questions: are these unregistered securities? And what we know from that group of folks is that they're bottom feeders. So there's literally nothing that they won't do for a penny or a nickel.
During periods of extreme volatility, the price of cryptocurrency can skyrocket and crash within just a few months. Keiser believes we are now on the verge of a total financial collapse.
When you have a fixed amount of money available, and it's not a fiat money system where trillions are being printed to encourage this type of malfeasance, you end up having to develop values and things that make a character and a person virtuous, for example. And that's what's missing from today's environment. I mean, it's all summed up essentially with, say, Dina Moose in his book, The Bitcoin Standard, of course, talks about low time preference. And this is the idea that you're willing to give up instant gratification for a bigger payoff in the future, right? And so what we have today is people like who are pushing FTX and the people you mentioned, they have extremely high time preference. They just want cash no matter what. They have no consideration whether it's legal, moral, ethical. They don't think about it. They just want the cash right now. And they're dangerously out of control. The fact is that everything in nature and everything in human experience and everything in the cosmos is governed by some set of rules, right? The governance is not completely obviated in any instance at all. There's always some kind of governance mechanism, and it brings us back to Bitcoin, which is the perfect governance mechanism, which gives us perfect money. And to get back to your previous point, when you have the presence of perfect money and perfect governance, it's revealing. And so this is, again, what Bitcoin here in El Salvador has ushered in the Bukele era, where so much is happening that's so positive because the yardstick of perfect money and perfect time preference is bringing about this kind of, as you point out, this Renaissance-like thinking.
Bitcoin embodies proof of work, right? And money in the time of ancient Greece was proof of work. You needed some work to get that money. So the proof of stake mindset enters into this equation, and we still have this sort of cultural notion that if you have a lot of money, you must be a hard worker and you must be worth it, rather than Paul Krugman and just spouting propaganda for the Federal Reserve. That's why they create elaborate Rube Goldberg machines, whether it's around Ethereum and all these forks and proof of stake and doing that and doing this, and they pretend that they're all scientists and we're like PhDs and big thinkers and we're controlling this, when the fact is it's all a facade.
Major cryptocurrencies are trading in the negative as the global crypto market cap has fallen 34% just in the last year alone. Most agree that Bitcoin will survive this cycle, but this is eerily similar to the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s. While most major cryptos are spending much of the day in the red, ongoing investor fears about inflation and a possible recession grows. As central banks tighten monetary policy, the average American will suffer the economic consequences of banks making the same mistakes again. Only this time, there are several markets that are on the verge of collapsing. What do you think about Max Keiser's prediction for Bitcoin? And where does the crypto market land in 2023? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.